you've got no excuse not to join in. And as with Sophie's amazing Zentangles earlier, you'll need a pen or a pencil and some paper. If we had more time, I'd say get some crayons and paints out as well, but we don't really have time. So I'm going to describe a painting, and I've deliberately chosen one which I hope not too many of you will be familiar with. You need to listen really carefully to my instructions and draw exactly what I say. And the onus is therefore on me to be as precise and clear as possible, which is definitely not a given. And at the end of the time, Graham might need to help me out on timing wise, because I haven't got a clue. I will show you the original and you can see how you've done. And then what I'd really like is if you can take pictures of what you did and upload them to Twitter afterwards using the BrewEdIsolation hashtag, so we can enjoy them all. Okay, so let's go. So you need to have your piece of paper landscape rather than portrait, firstly. And I should just explain that the painting is a river scene. It's an idyllic landscape, okay? To start with, draw a line for the far river bank, and it needs to start off just above halfway down the left-hand edge of the page and finish just below halfway on the right edge, okay? Next, draw another line just above that first one, but you need to start off a little bit above it on the left-hand side and finish about 3 centimeters above it on the right. Okay, so it starts on the left-hand side and finishes on the right-hand edge of the painting. Again, this is a path that runs along the bank of the river. Now, there's a bridge over the river. It's a single span, and we can see about 2/3 of it. It starts about 1/4 of the way down the left edge of the paper and curves gently down to meet the bank, almost exactly halfway across the paper. Okay, so it starts off about 1/4 of the way down the left edge of the paper, curve gently down to meet the riverbank about pretty much exactly halfway across. And the bridge starts off, I reckon, about 2 centimeters thick at the left edge of the paper and gets gradually thicker until it reaches the bank. So if you can visualize, it starts off quite thin and then you get thicker and thicker as it reaches the level with the bank of the river. What's next? It's made of metal, but where it joins the bank, there's a sort of stone structure, a triangle with a point at the bottom and the base of the triangle at the top. And this is on the right, so on the right-hand side of the bridge, this is. And then this disappears into a grassy wooded bank, which is parallel with the path. Okay, so you've got the bridge, hopefully, the river bank with the path, and then a wooded bank above that path, which is just parallel with the path. Okay, obviously I haven't got any idea how you're getting on, so I'm just going to keep going. Right, now in the foreground. Okay, firstly, there is a small segment of the river bank, this side of the river, which just comes into the picture in the bottom left-hand corner. It starts about a 1/4 of the way up from the bottom of the page on the left-hand edge of the paper. And then you need to go diagonally from there down at about 45 degrees to the bottom edge of the paper. So you've literally just got a little triangle of bank in the bottom left-hand of your paper. There are 2 slim tree stumps growing out of this bank, which jut a short way out over the river. One of them starts near the bottom of the triangle of bank and sticks out about 2 foot into the space of the river, so a couple of centimeters maybe. And it's just a tree stump with the tree cut off. And then the next one starts just above the middle of that triangle of bank that you've drawn and juts out diagonally towards, it's kind of aiming towards the middle of the top edge of the paper. And again, it's just a thin tree stump with the tree cut off. Behind the 2 tree stumps, there are two slender trees growing up from the bank in a narrow V shape. Both trees get gradually narrower as they go up, naturally. The left-hand one starts off behind the tree stumps, and it finishes right in the top left-hand corner of the page, more or less exactly in the corner. It's a dead straight tree. The right-hand one starts just to the right of that first one, behind the tree stump, and grows up to the top edge of the page again, and it more or less mirrors the left-hand one. So you've got a narrow V sign. Finally, I say finally, there are two smallish boats on the river. They are narrow rowing boats, which both, if you can visualize this, they come almost to a point in the bow and the stern. The bow and the stern sections are flat, level with the gunwales. That's the top head, the hull of the boat, for those of you that are non-nautical. Right, the first boat starts at the base of the trees that you've drawn, and it points out more or less into the very center of the picture. So it's a slight diagonal upwards from the base of the trees into the middle of the picture. And there's a man sitting in the stern of the boat with his back sort of semi-turned to us. And he's got a little black trilby-like shaped hat on. And it looks as though he's getting ready to fish, but you can't actually see what he's doing. He's sort of maybe tying a fly or something in his hand. Who knows? The second boat, the stern starts off from behind the first of the two tree stumps you drew, and it's the boat is pretty much parallel to the bottom edge of the picture. It starts from the tree stump and goes in line with the bottom edge of the picture, and the bow of the boat is right on the right hand edge of the picture. This boat's very similar to the first boat, so quite pointed bow and stern. It's got two raised wooden sets of rowlocks, and yes, I did say rowlocks just in case my audio stream's a bit iffy at this point. And right, that's about that really. I mean, at this point I would ordinarily I'd go into more detail and explain the colors and the effect of the wind on the water and all the leaves and so on the trees and the little branches, and there's people on the bridge and so on, but I think that might be a little bit above and beyond. So there, that is that really.